magáról. Na őróluk kell egyébként példát venni, akik nagyon simán meghódítják az első sort. Így van, nem vizsgáztatunk, nem harapunk, gyertek nyugodtan közelebb. Ladies and gentlemen, dear people of Budapest Comic Con 2025, please welcome the rising force of British cinema, Dean-Charles Chapman!
Alright, so you are a bit of a rush, in and out.
I am.
What is the first impression of this beloved crowd and the city of Budapest?
I love it. This is wicked. I didn't realise it was going to be this big. It's huge. I'm going to try and have a little walk around later on, so I haven't done that yet. But I love Budapest. I filmed a film here many years ago, but I got in last night really late, so I haven't had much chance to walk around yet.
Okay, so lovely to have you here tonight. Obviously, it turns out a bit of a shock, a bit of a surprise, but these guys are like the biggest Game of Thrones fans. Can you believe that?
No, they say, how come?
So what we're gonna do in this next 35 minutes is we're gonna do some behind-the-scenes stalking, but we also like to get to know you, how you react to all these amazing experiences. And the first thing I want to understand about your experiences is that you had now chances to be a part of awesome franchises, right? The Star Wars universe, the Game of Thrones universe, but then when it comes to the experience of 1917, that must be like a bit of a, to us, I mean viewers, a bit of a shock, like doing those amazing wonders and then being all historic. When it comes to you as a human being in the flesh, what is your number one experience when it comes to historic versus fiction?
Do you know what? As an actor, I don't really play it any differently. It's always, I mean, you'd think kind of that it's something that's fictional, you'd have to over-dramatise certain moments and stuff, but not necessarily. The only real difference would be is that something like 1917 that was based in reality, whereas Star Wars, you play a Jedi and you get the ability to use the Force, and you have to awkwardly stand there pretending to lift a huge boulder, but really there's nothing in front of you. That's weird. But in terms of preparation as an actor, as a human, there's no difference whatsoever.
Do you have any kind of rituals, practice that you use to get into? Utána megyünk fordítani, ígérem. Any rituals that you use so to get into this mental shape where all this is possible that you do?
Not really. It depends. I mean, like 1917 was a film that was set during the First World War. I had to do some research over like a 6-month period because I knew absolutely nothing about the First World War. And also fell in love with that part of history in the doing of that. But as an actor, no. I do one weird thing, and I rub my face like before I have to do a scene where I have to cry. I don't know why, but if I don't rub my face before I cry, I can't cry. But that's not a real technique, don't bother using that if you're an actor.
Szóval van-e bármilyen hasonlóság a különbség akkor, hogy a valós történelmi személyeket vagy fikcionális karaktereket elalakítani? A helyzet az, hogy ha az ember például játszik az 1917-ben, ahogy én tettem, az egy valós történelmi helyzet és egy valós karakter, míg ha a Star Wars-ban Jedi-t játszom, akkor pedig állok fel a pózban a tér közepén és úgy teszek, mint egy egész követ emelnék fel, miközben nincs előttem semmi. Ez egy kicsit furcsa, de színész felkészülés szempontjából igazából nincs nagy különbség. Például az 1917-re fel kellett készülnöm, mert nem tudtam semmit tenni az időszakon, és őszintén szóval egy kicsit elvarázsolt ez a korszak.
Your generation of actors is a generation which was able to grow up not just in front of cameras, but in the scope of social media to some extent. And I know a lot of people ask you a lot of times, but in Game of Thrones you started in a smaller role. First we had the chance to meet you as the random cousin, right? And sure. In that age, in that mindset, did you already realize what a is to step into the shoes of Tom and Baratheon, or was it like something that was just a natural process and retrospective that you realized it was a big thing?
That's interesting actually, because, so if anyone didn't know, I played two characters in Game of Thrones. The first one was a very small character in season 3, and I played a character called Martin Lannister. It was one episode, and I got killed, I got stabbed. And then they brought me back as Tom Baratheon in season 4. But during that time, when we was filming season 3, Game of Thrones wasn't necessarily as big as it is then as it was today. I think what really made Game of Thrones popular is the season with the Red Wedding, which was season 3. So I remember as an actor turning up and having never heard of Game of Thrones or what it was, and it was kind of this niche, weird little medieval show. And then when I came back for season 4, then they started winning Emmys and Golden Globes, and then things started to shift a little bit differently. And also with that, the movement of social media became a lot bigger through seasons 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, every year we came back actually, it felt like it was growing more and more in popularity.
Benne belőle mindig meg a kamerák előtt fel, illetve ezt a közösségi média hatásra is részt közvetlen. Ez már akkor is nyilvánvaló számomra. Már az is akkor is nyilvánvaló számomra, hogy a Game of Thrones megtartod, amit először játszottál benne, hogy ez a folyamat. Most, ha bárki nem tudná, akkor még 2-szer játszottam a csapatharcában. Először a harmadik évadban Martin Lannister unokatestő, megölnek egy epizód. A negyedik évadban pedig voltam Tomban. És amikor a harmadik évadban játszottam, akkor nem volt akkora népszerűséget menő dolog a trónokharca. Ez leginkább a Vöröstász, Vöröstász miatt lopottak vele. És amikor visszajöttem a negyedik évadban, amikor elkezdtek elég megoldani dolgokat nyerni, akkor értem rám, hogy megtartottam is megmondani.
From an affiliation point of view, like people that you work with, I found this piece of interview that back in 2020 you were like official besties with Isaac Hempstead Wright. And is it still going on? Like the romance is still going on?
Yeah, of course.
Tell me about friends you made in the cast. Like, it's been a couple of years. The franchise is going strong with the House of Dragon, but obviously your storyline is over now. So, how are you guys? Who are your folks? Who are people that you're like deeply keep in touch?
From Game of Thrones, honestly, the only one is Isaac, who played Bran Stark. I actually saw him a month ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he's great. He's such a lovely dude, and he retired from acting after Game of Thrones. I think he did like one or 2 films after that, and he packed it in. He's chosen a different life, settled down. He's a really sensible dude, and I love him. But yeah, he's the only one that I really stay in touch with. And then it's events like this, like Comic Cons and conventions, that I get to see other actors and other cast members. I've met a few of the House of Dragon cast members, they're all cool. So yeah, it's a nice little, we feel like a family. It's nice.
Azt tudjuk, hogy 2020-ban hatalmas címharapok voltál Isaac Hempstead Wright-tal. Ez még most is tart-e, illetve ki volt az kapcsolatot a munkák során találkozott emberek között. Hát a trónokharcában leginkább csak Isaac-kel, akivel talán egy pár hetre egy hónapja találkoztam utoljára. Nagyon szeretem a srácot. A trónokharca után miután csinált 1-2 filmet, aztán visszavonult, és egy teljesen más életet választott. De a többiekkel igazából nem. Találkozom sárkányok házaszínészekkel, ilyen komikonon, meg hasonló eseményeken, akik fantasztikus emberek.
What I really enjoyed about your performance back in the day is that it was so amazing to see someone reflecting on manhood itself, like maturing. All of a sudden, Toman has to step up because of the tragic thing that happens to his brother, but there were also the Marjorie Tyrell presence, and I remember I was genuinely touched by the fact that Toman was, all of a sudden mesmerized about all of this. Can you reflect on all the stuff that he went through, how you went through all of these things? Like
like a woman's touch or power and all of these things, because at a certain point every like boy is starting to think about all these things, power and all, and how did it affect you?
Do you know what? It actually affected me a lot in a weird way. Back then, I mean, I was a much less experienced actor, and I was still quite new to the world of acting. And I guess Tommen as a character is the complete opposite of what Joffrey was. I guess that's the whole point. It's like the yin and yang of the two brothers. So I remember coming to set every day and having to play this kid who had no self-confidence and was just kind of, he had a lot of weak traits, like as a human, but he was only a kid. He was so immature and he wasn't ready for a position of power in a world where someone like Cersei and Joffrey exist. He really didn't fit into that world. And as an actor, I was so immersed in those feelings and emotions during the day that I would feel so drained after a day's filming. And I remember like calling my mum and saying, I think I'm doing a really bad job. I don't know, I just feel so like crap and like rubbish like, after a day's work. And I felt like that the whole time making Game of Thrones. And then I realised now that I've grown up, is that it was just me as an actor sort of embodying another character and what they're experiencing. I just couldn't put that into words back then, didn't quite realise what was going on. But yeah, I feel sorry for Tom, he went through a lot.
Tudnál arról beszélni, hogy milyen volt Tommen bőrében lenni, miközben ő egy fiatal gyerekként szembesülni kellett olyan konstrukciókkal, mint a hatalom, pártázás és amikor elkezdtem Tommet alakítani, akkor egy nagyon jóval kevésbé tapasztalat színész voltam. És amikor Tommet kellett játszanom, ugye az alapfeladás, hogy tulajdonképpen a teljes elhelyezett Zsófrinak rengeteg olyan tulajdonsága van, amik igazából gyenge emberi teszik, de hát tulajdonképpen csak egy kis figurja. És emlékszem rá, hogy abban a világban, ahol Cersei és Joffrey is létezik, neki alakadnak van helye. Úgyhogy amikor játszottam, akkor esténként hívtam anyámat, és azt mondtam neki, hogy szerintem nagyon rossz munkát végzek, mert nagyon-nagyon elkiszít az, hogy Tommet játszom. Ezt akkor nem tudtam, most már felnőttem, jöttem rá arra, hogy semmi más nem történt, csak elmerültem Tommet világában.
Whenever we see any description about your mannerism, everybody's always talking about the fact that you are this resilient and mature character, you know, as a human being. And I remember seeing you all of a sudden in Star Wars, seeing you as a character of a Master Jedi, and I was like, okay, I think that's if I just take the previous experiences of you, I would depict you as a Master Jedi. How do you react to how other people see you? Is it how you see yourself, like this ever maturing, young but like resilient character, or all of this is just media and then you're just a completely different person?
Yeah, I think I'm a different person. I think that's something I've actually learned, you know, as someone that works in the film industry now, is that when you step into these worlds where people are really, you know, an actor can be really iconic, they're really famous, they mean a lot to many people and the film industry itself. And then when you get talking to them, you actually realise that they're just a human being. And they're, you know, I've had it many times when I've talked to an actor that I really, really admire and I ask him so many questions about, you know, my favourite films and whatnot, and they go, God, that was a nightmare. I'm like, really, why? And they, you know, they open up and talk about insecurities and what they've learned and what they've had to overcome. So there definitely is like a stigma or just sort of some sort of, yeah, I guess resilient idea of someone that doesn't necessarily exist inside of them. Yeah.
Amikor ránézek, akkor az érzésem, hogy egy igazi, egy erős életszínűség van, és amikor megjelensz a Star Wars-ban egy Jedi mestert alakítva, akkor azt gondoltam magamban, hogy igen, el tudok képzelni Jedi mesterként. Ilyen emberben a valóságban is, vagy valami teljesen másképp működik ez. A helyzet az, hogy a szerepek működik teljesen másképp. Úgyhogy amikor egy ilyen világban létezel, ahol ebben a szerepben emlékekben esetleg találkozom, amikor van egy legendás színész elképesztő tapasztalattal és csodálatos hozzáértéssel, és amikor beszélgetsz velük, akkor rájössz arra, hogy ők is emberek. Megkezded őket szeretve, és azt mondják, hogy az egyik émátokat, és megkezded, hogy miért, és kinyílnak is elmondják, hogy milyen bizonyosságot dolgoztak velük akkor. Úgyhogy igen, a szerep az szerep, és az embereknek pedig reziliensnek kell lenniük, hogy tovább tudjanak menni.
You consider yourself a fan of Game of Thrones since the show ended. We live in this weird, blurry era when the show is finished, there is a spin-off show, still no next book. Are you like a reader of the series? Are you a fan of the series? Are you active in it? Because I remember Ian was like so furious just a couple of hours ago. He was sitting where you were sitting and he's like, where is the bloody book? And I'm like, the actors have different takes and different emotional relationships with the franchise. Where are you right now?
Where am I with Game of Thrones? Well, I'm not a reader of the book. I did try it when I first got the role of Tom, and I was like, I'm going to be really good, I'm going to read every single book. And I got to page 200, and then they sent me through season 4's TV script, and then I put the book away and started reading the script. But I was a fan when I first started the show. I catched up on seasons 1, 2 and 3 before I started as Tommen, and I loved the show. Loved it. I was so invested in the storylines and the actors, the writing, and then when you step on set as an actor, the only way I can describe it is like going to Disneyland, you know, and you see all of these characters that you idolise, and then all of a sudden they take the Mickey Mouse helmet off and they're like, oh my god, they're just a human, like, this is weird. Yeah. He said, dude, what the hell's going on? Mickey, that's the guy. So, I do have a weird relationship in Game of Thrones, and then when I was in it, I didn't watch it because I could never no longer fully immerse myself as a fan and watch the show. And then when I died, I didn't watch season 7 and 8. But I knew what happened because my friend Isaac told me everything. So I sort of vicariously lived it through his experience. But right now, I watched House of Dragons season 1. I liked it. I haven't seen season 2 yet. I want to see a Game of Thrones film. They should like do something else, some other storyline.
Let's go to the cinema screen, right?
Yeah, let's get some cinema going with just one storyline. You know, pick up on Jon Snow or something and let's just see for 3 hours, do some stuff. That'd be cool.
Ugye ez most a vonalharcában mit gondolszolunk? Olvastad a könyveket, vagy úgy voltál korábban, akkor lesz most vele. Nos, mivel említik korábban mondta azt, hogy alig várja már, hogy mennyire leszel a pénzafogtál. Nos, alapvetően elmondhatom azt, hogy nem olvastam a könyvet, de az első elkezdtem, megmondtam a 200 mondanig, amikor adtam a forgatókönyvét, és akkor inkább azt olvastam, nem mindig a repülőteimet. Amikor készültem a szerepre, akkor megnéztem az első 3 évadot, és nagyon szerettem. És az ember, amikor színész, és elmegy egy ilyen fantasy műsor forgatására, olyan, mint a készületben lenne, csak azt neki derül, hogy a Mickey Masztor a legjobb ember van. És amikor meghaltam, akkor nem néztem volna egy 8. évadot, bár Isaac elmondta, hogy mi történt, hogy tájékozottam róla, mert nem voltam, de játszottam, vagy nem tudtam teljesen mindenre soha többet. Megnéztem a Sárkányok az első évadát, ezt tetszett, a második évadot még nem láttam, de ideje egy csodaharca filmnek most már. Kövessük Jon Snow 3 évvel keresztül.
Yeah, sorry, we were just talking about how fancy Hungarian language is, and I reckon it's even weirder than the Thraci would be. We're gonna hand over the mic to you any minute, so prepare your questions. Before that happens, obviously I have to do the basics and just ask you to share the weirdest, the funniest, for you on a personal level, the most memorable just situation you ever find yourself on a set of Game of Thrones that was like important to you. Like any scene, any setup, completely up to you. Just give us something that for you personally meant a lot.
There's a couple. I guess there's one that I remember would be the first time sitting on the Iron Throne. That was pretty cool. I mean, it's very uncomfortable. You're sitting on swords and they're poking up in places that you don't want swords sticking. But that was a very cool moment. But I also remember my first day on set, and it was a scene where I was filming in Tommen's bedroom, and Marjorie comes into the room, and it's the first time them two characters have a conversation, and there's Tommen's pet cat, Sir Pounce, and he was a nightmare. He didn't know his lines, and he was supposed to jump on the bed to a certain position, and we was there for hours trying to get this one shot. And it's a cat, so he did a good job, but it's very difficult. So we had to use like 2 or 3 cats, and then finally we got the right Sir Pounce. So I remember that, and I was very nervous that day. I think I even vomited a little bit. Yeah, I was really nervous, and I secretly had a crush on Lally Dawn.
So did the cat, I reckon.
Yes, yeah, the cat.
That was like, okay, this is a brotherhood.
Yeah, we was in the same boat.
They were anxious as well. Okay, hello everybody. How you guys doing? Now is your time to shine. You have the courage and the material. We are very, very, very eager to hear your questions. Yes, that's the sign. You put your hands up and the microphone flies to you, just hovers to you. Itt az első sorban oldalt, ilyen betonaranyszínű pólóban, az úr nagyon alright. Hello.
Hi, Mike. Hello. I just wanted to ask if you had been offered the chance to play the role of Joffrey Baratheon, would you have done it, or would you have preferred doing this to Tommen?
I would have loved to, but Jack Gleeson did such a good job. He's literally the best character in Game of Thrones. Why they killed him off that early, I don't know. But I also loved playing Tommen, so it was meant to be. It was meant to be.
Thank you.
First of all, have you ever heard the joke? There's a reason why they call it King's Landing.
Go on.
Sorry, yeah, no, it's just your dad saying,
Oh,
yeah, sorry. Anyway, my question relates to that. How big was the jump from the Red Keep window, and how did you land?
ooh, I landed on my face. How big was it? It was quite tall, actually. I had to step up on a windowsill, it was probably that big. And then by the time I stand up, it's even taller. So yeah, it was probably that distance, and then I'd fall onto like cardboard boxes, and on top of the cardboard boxes was a crash mat. It's like a blue big mat, and I'd fall, and I'd have to keep my face from turning until the last minute, until I was out of frame from the camera. So I'd fall, and every now and then I'd clip my nose on the mattress, and I definitely bruised my nose that day. And we did that for many, many hours, that scene, so I was rattled. It was good fun.
Ouch.
Yeah.
The jump itself, you had to a lot of takes of the...
We did. They actually filmed it from multiple angles, so the version that exists in the show now is from behind Tommen, and you just see him from the back, but we filmed it from the side and the front, where it just plays on Tommen's face. So we did it for hours, yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious, sorry, we're looking for obviously the next question from the audience, but what are the prompts that the director gives to you? Like, you do it a couple of times and then what is it that you really have to readjust?
I can't really remember. I think most of the notes was on the version at the front, which is Tommen's face. And Tommen's supposed to be looking out of this window, looking out at the ruins of the city and this blown up church where his wife had just been killed by his mother. But in actual reality, I was standing there looking at a guy with a sound mic and just a blue screen. And I was, the notes was just, play more emotion, or think about this, think about that. So I was just staring at a spot at this guy's leg and trying to cry.
So the best you could do was just looking at the dude with the stick and being like, this is making me suicidal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one. Okay, wow. Okay, look at them. I think that's a bit of a surprise for you. Alright.
Oh yeah, nice.
Hello.
What's happening?
First of all, I would like to say what an amazing performance you've done in the show. And second of all, I would like to ask, who was one of your colleagues that you feel like you've learned the most from acting-wise?
Oh, thank you. Do you know what? I think in terms of Game of Thrones, I think that would have to be Lena Headey, who played Cersei. She, not only is she such an amazing human being, but she's such a good actor. And as an actor, sometimes you learn most from acting, from actually just doing the work itself rather than being told what and how to do. So as an actor, when you're acting across someone as good as Lena, subconsciously you're taking in all of the minuscule nuances that she's putting through to her performance. And you can just kind of soak that in. So I would say working with Lena is probably the biggest education I had as an actor, which was fantastic.
Understandably so, she was just...
Yeah.
And I mean, outside of Game of Thrones, whenever you got a chance to see her,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, and also she's so different from the character of Cersei. Like, she's so lovely, and she's so rock and roll. Like, she's got loads of tattoos, and she's got black hair. Like, she's really cool. Really cool.
hello.
Hello. What was your partner or hardest skin, and why?
Couldn't catch that.
Is that the hardest? Sorry,
Harder or hardest skin?
it's the hardest thing.
Yeah, I think it's the scene.
Yeah,
It's the hardest
thing.
scene.
Hardest thing. Hardest thing. I wouldn't necessarily say from an acting point of view, just more of a nervous, self-conscious point of view. If we're talking about Game of Thrones, would be Tommen's wedding to Marjorie. That was, I was so nervous when I had to kiss Natalie in front of all the other cast. It was a really fun day, but that, I had to, look at myself in the mirror before I did that and just say, be cool.
Before we find our next one, this is from me, but from personally, I'm a huge Baratheon fan. And obviously, your character is like the king at one point, but it's like a bastard in the eyes of so many others. Do you have any of the houses that calls to you? Either from a branding point of view, their name, the colors, the virtue that they stand for. My friends and I, we played a lot of Game of Thrones board game and card game, and all of us were just picking their favorite houses all the time. Do you consider any of the houses that are like close to you, but on a personal level?
Do you know, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is also cliche, but Stark. Like the House Stark. I know it's a similar question with Gryffindor, Slytherin, and the Harry Potter world, but the Starks. I mean, if I was to be born into any family, I'd hope it would be the Starks. Yeah.
Thank you. I got what I came for, it's all you guys.
Hi there. I wanted to ask you, seeing as you became a part of the Star Wars universe, did you make lightsaber noises?
Yeah.
And did they tell you to shut up?
Yes. It was a nightmare. Actually, I loved Star Wars ever since I've been a kid. I played video games, I always run around pretending I had a lightsaber and stuff. So that was like a real big dream come true. And we had like a 2-week rehearsal process before we started filming those action sequences. So yeah, during those 2 weeks, I was the sound effects guy for the lightsabers. Yeah.
I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah, me too.
Alright, let's keep them rolling. Who's gonna be next?
Hello.
Yeah.
So, what was it like to work with Sam Mendes, the director of 1917? He's one of my favorite directors, and I just wanted to learn something about him that you experienced.
Oh, goodness me, yeah. He's one of my favourite directors as well. I think Sam had his start as a director in the theatre industry in London. So there's some directors that you work with as an actor that have really no idea how to communicate with actors. It's a really, it's a skillful job to be able to give actors the right note, to be able to get the correct performance out of them. And Sam isn't an actor, but he really does understand what an actor's going through and how to communicate with them. And also, just subjectively in the conversation, Sam Mendes' blocking and choreography of a scene is like none other than I've worked with before. And if anyone don't know, it was a film called 1917 that was filmed in one continuous shot, so it looks like the whole film's in one take. So each scene would roughly be anywhere from 4 minutes to 9 minutes. So each sequence was really carefully choreographed over 6 months. So getting to see that firsthand and watching Sam figure out how the scenes look from script to page to on set was very, very cool. Yeah, he really is a genius.
Love that we are reaching out to all these different cinematic territories. Really love you guys. Still have 5 minutes on the clock. Come on. Who's gonna be next?
Hey.
What about feelings in the Game of Thrones series?
My feelings for it. Yep. So you mean the end of how it ended? I'm assuming that's what the question is. Yeah. Well, I know that there was a big controversy amongst the Game of Thrones fans that no one really liked the ending. I don't know how you feel, what the consensus is here, but I actually didn't watch it. I should, and I will one day. But I know the ending. My friend Isaac, who played Bran Stark, told me the whole ending, and I thought it sounds pretty good. I just haven't watched it. I will watch it one day. Yeah.
But I think there is this beautiful meta journey to yours, because you mentioned sitting on the Iron Throne, and I just think about it. You know, a lot of the characters inside the show is trying to get to the throne, and then you study from another role, and then all of a sudden you are getting switched, and your character sits on the throne, and then you check out on your own. Your character decides to check out, and then the controversy happens. It seems like somehow it's all connected to you, right?
Yeah, they should have just kept Tommen alive as their parents and married Marjorie and happily ever after. I will say that the Game of Thrones controversy is so difficult because you have a series where there's, 50 characters, and normally you'll get a TV show where you just root for 1 or 2 characters, and it's a pretty general idea that they're going to everyone roots for it. Whereas the consensus was always split with Game of Thrones. Like you asked, House Stark, House this, House that. So either way, you're going to annoy a lot of people by having just one winner of the Game of Thrones. So I think you're kind of doomed in the beginning to make everybody happy. It's a very tricky job.
When you realized that you're gonna play Tommen, you mentioned that Cersei was amazing from a performance point of view, but were you like checking out Nicola because all of a sudden you realized that to your character that's the real father? Were you like, do I have to start mimicking any of these great actors and actresses because in the fictional world I'm their son?
Yeah, do you know, not so much with Nicola, who played Jamie, but unintentionally with Cersei, actually. I just, maybe it's because I hang around with her so much, most of my scenes was with her. So I'd be having a conversation with some people and they'd say, God, your mannerisms are just like Lena. I'd be like, what? So I think unintentionally as an actor, you just absorb things that you should do as the character unintentionally. I think I did that a little bit with Lena, actually, yeah.
You were the little cub after all. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So my question is, what were you and other actors doing during shooting Game of Thrones to protect yourself from giving the spoilers? Because I guess there was so many questions all around, from fans, from journalists. What were you guys doing, and what was production of the series doing to protect you from giving the spoilers?
Yeah. So on a normal TV and film shoot, they would give the actors something called a call sheet, which is all of the information of what the scenes are about, what actors are in that scene, and also the pages of the script itself, so that the actors can have it in their pockets in case they need to remember lines. But we stopped doing that from season 6 because people were finding it in trash cans and people were taking photographs of what was taken. So they stopped all that, and all of the scripts went from being physical to digital, so you couldn't access it unless you were on your computer. But actually, me and Isaac, who plays Brand, were actually talking about this recently. And if you think back to like social media 10 years ago, it obviously was a big thing. Like most people in this room had social media 10 years ago. But I think we can all agree that social media now is a completely different beast. Like the world literally revolves around social media now, whereas 10 years ago it didn't as much. So I think you'd actually be surprised that working on Game of Thrones there wasn't as much spoilers that were released back then than there are today. Let's say like a Marvel film. It's kind of a different beast today.
Same animal, but a different beast. What an absolute pleasure to have you here today and on stage. 10 seconds on the clock, one last, just message out to this beloved, not just Hungarian, but an amazing international crowd. What do you have for us?
Thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a brilliant day. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dean-Charles Chapman, thank you so much, sir. Ha tippelnem kellene, akkor most megragadjuk az alkalmat, hogy reklámfilmeket mutassunk nektek, és utána folytatjuk a programot itt a Nagyszínpadon. Köszönjük szépen!